Hey everybody, I'm Scott Wikle. You're listening to the award-winning My Kind of Country right here on mkocradio.com. My guest tonight is actually sitting here in the studio with me, and it's a pleasure to have him. I don't get to do this very often face to face, and I got to say I'm just a little more than intimidated because normally this gentleman is the one conducting the interview, so tonight he's kind of on the other side of it. So if I'm stumbling a little bit, it's just because he's looking me right in the eye and I'm a little intimidated. Please welcome Dave Fortin to My Kind of Country. Dave, how are you tonight?
Oh, pretty good, yeah. What Scott's talking about is my years as a TV reporter, and that was with 7 and 4 News out of Traverse City, and now I do a few features while I'm up here during the summer with My News 26 out of Cadillac, and then head to Florida.
And you were nice enough to do a feature on our show, and I sure do appreciate that. Even though I don't like to be on TV, I've got a face for radio, you know. Well, Dave, certainly all your years in broadcasting and everything, it gave you the persona to be able to perform in front of an audience, and you certainly do it very well, playing and singing some of the songs that you've written, and you've obviously played around here, and you play a lot in Florida in the wintertime. How did you first decide that you wanted to get into songwriting and playing music?
Well, that went back to first song I wrote was kind of a challenge from a minister, and because I didn't know any hymns and he liked music in his church, so I wrote a song for the church. And eventually, of course, my early years was rock and roll, but I always liked country. And a few years ago I did interview Johnny Cash.
Yeah, I remember that. That was cool.
And it was real interesting. I said, well, I'm trying to write a few country songs, and I said, but gee, I'm from northern Michigan, and then he said, well, he says, this is I have to be kind of frank with this, and this wasn't on the interview. This was after we did the interview. He said, well, I'll tell you, he says, if you ever took a whiz in an outhouse or bathed in a tin tub, and you got a story to tell, you can be a country singer. And I thought back to when I was a little kid and we moved from Muskegon. And for the first year, until we got our house done completely, we did have an outhouse.
Yeah.
And we didn't have the bathtub installed yet, so we did take a bath in the tin tub.
Well, there you
go.
go.
So I thought, well, I can be a country singer.
You can be a country singer. Johnny Cash said so, didn't he? Yeah, that was a big deal to have Johnny Cash in Traverse City. We didn't get a lot of big stars.
Oh, I know.
It was neat
and
to,
of all the stars and the people I interviewed over the years, that today, when I see the picture of me or play the video of me sitting there with Johnny Cash, it just about chokes me up. It was absolutely, I mean, it's hard to believe that I sat there with him.
Yeah. We've talked about this, and I'm going to ask you anyway because I think it's a neat story. There was, I'm sure, a lot of people trying to get the interview with Johnny Cash. How did Dave Fortin get the interview with Johnny Cash?
Well, they didn't do a lot of publicity, and the second show I heard wasn't quite sold out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was waiting at the Holiday Inn when he got off the bus, and I started talking to him. He said, well, not doing any local interviews. And I mentioned that they told me that the late show wasn't sold out, and that he was, getting a base pay plus, I guess, a percentage of the gate.
Sure.
At least that's what they had told me that afternoon at the old the arena here. And so I told him, I says, your interview just might help sell a few more tickets and make you a little money. And then he said, well, if you were all set up and everything, I could give you a few minutes. Well, I always tried to be confident. I was already set up. The bar wasn't open, and I had the lights, the camera, everything ready to go. And, of course, to get to the front desk to check in, there was the door into where I had everything set up.
You were ready to go.
And he says, well, let's do it. And after I introduced him, he says, I just came in by bus. And I don't know why that always got me, you know. It just seems like, you know, so many country stars, that's the way they traveled.
Oh, yeah.
He says, just came in by bus.
That's great. I remember that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you've got such a kind of a melting pot. You know, you've done a lot of gospel and Christian music. You've done some rock and roll. You've done some country. What are some influences that you draw from when you write your songs? And
well, I was my wife and I, Joni and I, were in our boat near where my daughter was living, right offshore in Key Waden.
uh-huh.
And my daughter came out, waded out to the boat. She says, you were saying that certain things inspire you to write a song. And she says, all I'm going to say is, one more beer. Well, usually what would happen, it takes me about a week to get inspired. Then it all comes to me.
Uh-huh.
And so I got to thinking, I wouldn't admit that this ever happened to me, but it's possible. You might recognize this. Somebody goes to a bar for one drink, maybe after work, and then a friend walks in. Yeah, I'll have another one. Yeah, okay. But I have to go. And so on. And they end up, maybe closing up the place and get in big trouble with their lady friend, Now, when I wrote the song, you got to have a little bit of a license. There really isn't a Key Waden Inn, but there is a bar there. But that worked in with the rhyme, and so just starting out the song, well, drinking with my buddies at the old Key Waden Inn from Friday afternoon till midnight. That's where I've been. Then one more beer and I'm out of here. Let's play the song.
Let's play it for you, folks. Check this out, folks. Great music. Dave Fortin.
Well, drinking with my buddies at the old Key Waden Inn from Friday afternoon till midnight. Oh, that's where I've been. Oh, one more beer and I'm out of here. One more beer and I'm out of here. Then a friend of mine walked in, and before he sat down, he offered to buy us all another round. And I said, okay, I hear you, man, but I gotta tell you, one more beer and I'm out of here. One more beer and I'm out of here. Well, I finished off of that beer, and the clock said almost 1. Then an old girlfriend showed up, and she said, hey, good looking, you want to have a little fun? And I said, okay, honey, I hear you. One more beer and I'm out of here. One more beer and I'm out of here. Then she put some money in the jukebox and dragged me out on the floor. 5 dances later and as many beers, she still wanted more. And I said, I hear you, honey, but I gotta tell you, one more beer and I'm out of here. One more beer and I'm out of here. Well, then the bartender told me my woman was on the line. She said, I'm telling you now, bud, you're out of time. I said, I hear you, honey. Oh, one more beer and I'm out of here. Oh, one more beer and I'm out of here. Then she said, I want to tell you something. You have one more beer, and a little bit you own is going to be out there right on the front porch, and the door is gonna be locked. And then she says, one more beer and you're out of here. One more beer and you're out of here. Well, she sounded pretty serious, so I headed for the door. Now, before you accuse me of driving drunk, you see I live just down the street, so all I had to do was stagger home, yeah.
I'm Scott Wikle. You're listening to My Kind of Country right here on MKOC Radio as I'm sitting here in the studio tonight with Dave Fortin, and that is his song, One More Beer. I love that song. Ever since you played it for me some years ago, I still catch myself going around singing that song. It's very catchy, yeah. And I hope that one of our listeners out there, if there's anyone that's interested in recording it, let us know, and I'll get you in touch with Dave. He's got not only that song, but a lot of other great songs, yeah. And I'd love to see some people record these songs, including this one called The Maintenance Man, and this is kind of an interesting story, too. Tell me a little bit about this song, yeah. Dave.
Yeah, well, first of all, you know, everybody has kind of a dream. You know, that one more beer?
Yeah.
I really picture Toby Keith singing that.
It's a great song. It really is. It's
yeah.
very catchy, and it's yeah. very relevant. I mean, it's something yeah. that's happened probably to just about everybody yeah. at one time or another.
Yeah, and I'd actually make the trip down to Nashville when it was, you know, got the prize for Song of the Year.
There you go. There you go.
Like I say, you got to have confidence.
That's right.
You know, what happened with the Maintenance Man, I actually did a show out to the Turtle Creek Casino before they moved into the new one. Uh-huh. And there was a maintenance man working there, and found out his attitude. I was talking about, this was around Christmas time, I was talking about what I wanted to do in June. And he pipes up and he says, "What are you planning so far ahead for?" He says, "Tomorrow you could be dead." Oh, okay. And you know, some other people told me, they says, yeah, that guy, I don't know if he's got depression or what, but he's really got a bad attitude about life. I said, well, you know, what do you mean? And, you know, he had this real junky car, all rusty. It was I don't even know what it was. He claimed it was a 3-cylinder car. Never heard, I don't know. Anyway.
That's a 4-cylinder, one quit working.
Yeah, it could be. But he had one-room apartment, you know, and so but he says, that's all I need. I don't need anything else, you know, and so I got to thinking, you know, and I came up with working 8 hours and a maintenance man, getting lucky with a chick for a one-night stand. I got a one-room place and a rusty old car, but it's okay because I don't travel too far. And then there's nothing I need, you know.
Yeah.
And so I recorded it, and I think probably there are people out there who could relate to that. A lot of people are very happy with what they have.
Absolutely.
And they may not have what looks like a lot to some people, but they're happy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, I guess we can hear that one.
Let's play it. This is the Maintenance Man, Dave Fortin, as we continue here on My Kind of Country. Stay with us, and Dave's going to come back, and we're going to talk some more right here in the studio. MKOCRadio.com. Here's Maintenance Man.
Have you ever met someone, I did, who's really satisfied with life? And they don't have a lot, but they're satisfied with their car, the place where they live. Everything in their life is just right. A lot of times people worry about somebody like that because they say they should be aspiring to more. But these individuals are pretty well happy with life. Well, working 8 hours as a maintenance man, getting lucky with a chick for a one-night stand. I got a one-room place and a rusty old car, but it's okay, 'cause I don't travel too far. And there's nothing I need that I'm wishing for, and I'm satisfied. I'm not asking for more. Well, some people keep on dreaming, looking way ahead. But I say, why bother? Because tomorrow you may be dead. And there's nothing I need that I'm wishing for, and I'm satisfied. I'm not asking for more. Well, some people keep on dreaming and looking way ahead. But I say, what bother? Because tomorrow you may be dead. And there's nothing I need that I'm wishing for, and I'm satisfied. I'm not asking for more. Well, I take what I get, and I don't complain. And you'd be better off if you could do the same. And there's nothing I need that I'm wishing for, and I'm satisfied. I'm not asking for more. Now, I don't want you to say that I need some medication, and quit telling me I got a case of bad depression. I don't want you to feel sorry for me, and here's the truth, and here's what I believe. I'm just looking at life realistically. Well, I work in 8 hours as a maintenance man, getting lucky with a chick for a one-night stand. I got a one-room place and a rusty old car, but it's okay, 'cause I don't travel too far. And there's nothing I need that I'm wishing for, and I'm satisfied. I'm not asking for more.
All right, that is the maintenance man, Mr. Dave Fortin. Dave, did the gentleman that inspired you to write this song, did he ever get a chance to hear that song?
Yes. Yeah.
What did he think of it?
Well, he says, well, that's me. And I had to get an extra CD and give him a copy of it.
That's pretty cool.
And, it's really interesting. You can tell how confident he really is about who he is, because he liked the song.
Yeah.
Well,
it doesn't matter, what your status is, how much money you make. If you're happy and you have everything you need, then that's true happiness. I've seen a lot of miserable people, a lot of miserable millionaires over the years.
Yeah, that happy with what you've got is what inspired the next song, too.
Well, tell me about this. It's My Friend Mike. And first of all, who is Mike?
Well, he was a guy that I worked with. And there were several times when I was working in television that new owners came in, new management came in, and these people had replacement people for a lot of the staff. And so he was one of the ones. It wasn't that he was a bad worker or anything, but he was just on the list to be eliminated. And it was years later I ran into him. Mike was his name, and he said, I know, he says, you kind of aspire to have things and, be successful. But he says, I'll tell you about the way I live. And then he says, I hope you understand. He says, I may be richer than you are because I'm totally happy. Well, I found out he lived near Traverse City. While he was working, he had bought a piece of land, and he had an old camper trailer on it. It's probably only about 18, 19 feet long.
No.
And he says, I live in the camper trailer year round. And he heats the camper table, the camper with a wood stove. And he doesn't own a car anymore. Doesn't even own a bike, he said. And there's a store within walking distance.
Uh-huh.
I guess once in a while he does an odd job for some widow or something, that lives on a lake near there.
Sure.
And he says, I may be richer than you. And now, the only part of that really isn't that true after talking to him is he has a dog, but the dog's name is not Boo. But that was my artistic license, you might say.
Well, that's the mark of a good songwriter.
Because it rhymed.
Yeah, exactly.
And I forget what his dog's name was, but I couldn't find anything to rhyme with his dog's name. So I just want to listen to it.
Let's play it. This is my friend Mike. Dave Fortin, thank you so much for being on My Kind of Country. And folks, if you're interested in any of Dave's songs, please get in touch with me through the website at My Kind of Country, mkocradio.com. We'll put you in touch with Dave. He's got a lot of great music, and you're going to hear some more of it on our show as well. And I'd love to have some folks out there pick these songs up and record them, and I know Dave would too. So, Dave, thanks for being on My Kind of Country.
I thank you for the opportunity. And this really has been fun.
It's been a blast.
Yep.
It's good to see you. Thanks for being here tonight. Here's my friend Mike from my friend Dave Fortin.
Well, I ran into an old friend of mine, and I guess I kind of learned a lesson. I always thought that in order to be rich, you had to have a lot of money in the bank, maybe a big fancy car, big house. I found out that isn't always the case. I got this friend who believes he's rich. Maybe he is. My old friend Mike for 10 years or more. Oh, then one day out of the blue, he showed up at my door. I asked him how he's doing, and he said my life is fine. Gonna tell you all about it if you got the time. And here's what he said: don't call me a poor boy, I bet I'm richer than you. Don't put me down for living the way I do. I lost a job at 40, said that's enough for me. I'm going to retire, I'm going to be free. So many wait so long till they're old and gray, and they only live a little while till their dying day. Don't call me a poor boy, I bet I'm a richer than you. Don't put me down for living the way I do. I live in an old travel trailer with a dog named Boo. I only work a little when I really have to. I got no credit cards or bills, and I own my own land. It's a little piece of heaven near the village of Lake Ann. Don't call me a poor boy, I bet I'm a richer than you. Don't put me down for living the way I do. Well, I don't need a car, and I don't own a bike. when I have to go to town. I just take a hike. I seem to make it through year after year. Just stop by most any time and I'll offer you a beer. Don't call me a po' boy, I bet I'm richer than you. Don't put me down for living